Well, hello again, Internet. It's been so long. It's been about 5 minutes. And we are back here for runZero Day. If you're familiar with runZero Hour, it's just like that, but more. And so I am here live in San Francisco, across the street from Moscone Center, in the runZero Day studio, which was built yesterday. It is bananas. I am here with my very good friends, Kimber and Patrick from VulnCheck. How y'all doing?
Great.
We're thriving,
Yeah?
honestly.
Yeah?
I
You having a
think
good time?
if you put us in a conference environment, we gain energy, I think.
Yeah. No, this is super fun. And I'm very much looking forward to this conversation here. It is entitled The Network Edge, EOL and Exploitation.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. Thank you for theme music. Now I need a soundboard. Like, I'm a podcaster.
I'll just go to the desk and make sounds for you. Yeah.
So, why are we talking about this? Like, the thing I know VulnCheck most for is farming CVEs, but I'm sure that's not your entire thing.
It's a noble profession, but it is not our entire thing.
Yeah. Tell me about EOL and exploitation, because this was the subject of CISA BOD 2602.
Yes.
My second favorite BOD now. Yeah. And I think it was something worth saying for sure, right?
Yeah.
But you guys have done some work on it. Tell me about it.
So I every year I do an annual report on exploitation, where evidence was first found for vulnerabilities in the year. And when I ran that, I also categorize all the different technologies. Mm-hmm. And always on the top of the list is network edge devices.
Sure.
So naturally...
and this has been the trend for like a couple years now, right? Like MTreds did a report on this.
Yeah.
A couple other things are like, hey, most things are not vulnerabilities being exploited, but the things that are vulnerabilities being exploited, it's all in edge stuff.
Yeah. So naturally, having done that now for about 2 years, I wanted to explore like more angles to go deeper, right? Because when you're looking breadth, you're looking at some general trends, but this is well before CISA BOD 2602 came out on the network edge EOL devices. And I just want to understand, as a researcher, I was curious, like, is this all supported devices? Mm-hmm. Is this not supported? Is it consumer technology? Is it enterprise technology? The other question was, like, where are the headquarters of the companies that build these products? Mm-hmm. Which would... Like,
why might that matter?
I was just curious because you're always, I'm always seeing things like TotoLink or TP-Link or I don't know, a range of other link companies. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I'm curious too on botnets and ransomware,
right?
To see like what they're targeting, and so a lot of it was like manually, jumping through data to figure out, is this EOL, is it supported? Which is a very gray area, from a research perspective. But that was more where the curiosity came. And then CISA BOD 2602 came out, and I was like, oh, this is
extremely
perfect
convenient timing.
Yeah.
And then the FCC announcement came out, and you were like, oh my gosh, even more.
So tell me about the FCC, Kim.
Kimber, yes. So conveniently, we released this report on Monday.
Yeah,
right?
morning.
Monday morning, and then mere hours later, the FCC says all consumer routers that are not from the United States, they're out. Just no more of those. Should not be used.
Darkening our shores.
Yes, exactly. And I think there are some important implications in this of if you already have one, it's fine. Just keep using it. But moving forward, we're not going to, I don't know, it's kind of vague, honestly. Are we not going to be importing routers? Are we not going to be selling routers? Will there be a huge tariff on these things? Or how is it actually going to affect the environment? But in the end, the FCC says only use consumer-level routers if they are from the United States. And the big question on everybody's mind is, what's from the United States? So, Patrick, we dove into this and
Most of the consumer products that, and I have flow charts in the research, like the majority of consumer products are Chinese headquartered. Taiwanese. You have some U.S. companies, Netgear. That doesn't mean they're made in the U.S. though.
Right.
So you have to keep that in mind. There's maybe one or two other ones. But by and far, my assumption is, I haven't looked under the hood. Most of these are probably made in China or Taiwan, even if they're U.S. companies.
That's where all the chip fabs are.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. The other thing, when we talk about botnet targeting and then ransomware attribution, that botnets are pretty much tied 100% to consumer devices.
Okay.
And there was no crossover with ransomware campaigns, which were like 100% enterprise. And likely,
that's interesting.
Yeah, my theory behind this is like, there's just not that many enterprise devices compared to consumer devices.
Sure.
So if you want to do DDoS or other types of activities related to botnets, and you want to mass compromise things, consumer devices make a lot more sense.
Well, and you get a longer dwell time in the consumer devices as well, because as you learn, consumers aren't really upgrading their devices.
What?
I mean, shocker.
If they have an upgrade.
Caveat, because as you told me, some of the vendors, oh my God, the providers, the people that we buy the internet from are issuing end-of-life devices to new customers.
Yes.
Yeah.
This has been going on forever.
Yeah.
And it, I know that 10 years ago, I was scanning internet things.
As one does.
And we would find these places in the world. Spain popped up. I remember this specifically. There's basically one game in town for home residential ISP in Spain, and it was one game in town. They had 3 models of routers, and it was all by region basically. And one region, the inner. My Spanish geography is limited to only medieval Spain, weirdly enough, but modern Spain, right? The Mediterranean side of it. Yeah. This band of just this has been end of life for 5 years, right? And we just knew that, and then it's and look at that. This is where all the botnet activity is.
Yeah.
Because there's 10 vulnerabilities on these things that are all remote code execution on the WAN side. Good job. And they keep getting pushed out. And we see that, and I've seen that show up in Vietnam. I see it show up in South America, and I see it in the U.S.
Well, so one of the things, I had to go to all the product pages. I had to go search to see if there was EOL data, but some of the firmwares are this one's for Spain, this one's for Taiwan, this one's for China, probably export controls. I'm not sure the reason why. But then you have devices being sold where the firmware hasn't been updated since 2021 or 2020. And so for me, it's that's EOL. If you don't have an update on a network edge device in 8 years.
And that is kind of tricky, right? There's a difference between stable and end of life.
Yeah. End of support and end of life.
End of support and end of life. In runZero, we make the distinction between end of life and end of life extended, which is essentially end of security.
Yeah.
Right. But you're right that we still don't really know. We don't have a good handle as an industry on how to classify these things. And part of it is because no one really wants to say until they're forced to say something is end of life. This was a fight I've had for years with Google and Android. Now Android does advertise an expected end of life. Microsoft has been actually really good at this since Windows 95.
Yes.
Right? They've been excellent at it. But everybody else is all over the map.
This is one of my favorite rants that I have when I get spicy, just really passionate about something. Is the internet is a living, breathing entity,
right? And
one of the things that's really important to realize about that is we do have life and death cycles. But one of the cool things about the internet is we actually have a zombie cycle, which is things don't just die. Things live forever, and they live without operators. So if it's just an empty host there is one of my favorite bits of research I've ever done that I never talk about is there's this guy who lives in a non-disclosed portion of California who has a bunch of cold fusion servers sitting out on the internet, and he is
By cold fusion, you mean the software, not
Yes.
the physics.
Yeah, not the physics, the ye olde software
Right, got it. CFM.
Yes, and they're just still sitting out there on the internet. They are not compromised in any way, shape, or form, somehow, some way.
Okay.
But his company still exists. He as a person still exists. I called his phone number, and he picked it up, and he's like, "Yeah, those servers are fine. They're just doing their thing."
Yeah.
But like that's so end of life that like. It's not patched anymore. It's not doing anything. So
Yeah.
how are they not compromised? So I just kind of like waited for them to, see if it ever happened, and they still never have. And I think that's very interesting. Not everything gets that, kind of
Right.
treatment. Like these routers that are out
They
there
must
that
have
are
like a, web application firewall in front of them.
They must.
Excellent routing rules.
They must. But like that's kind of what we can expect is this pattern of like things become end of life, therefore they are more valuable to dwell on because, nobody's going
never
out
get a
there
patch
and
again.
unplugging it. Yeah.
Well, they'll never get a patch. It's a signal that like the operator is not really paying attention.
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe in the case that you've given, like he's clearly paying attention.
Yes.
But in many cases, like if you're I've done a stint as a pen tester.
Yeah.
I look for the oldest thing in the room,
Yep.
and I punch it in the face.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it is prison rules.
Yeah.
Well, and how many people outside the tech industry, let's be honest, are like, oh, let me check if my router needs an update.
Yeah.
Like,
No, they treat it like a phone, right?
Yeah.
They treat it like the phone that used to be wired to the wall.
well, so my another experiment I did is a few research friends. I was like, hey, give me your modem and router details, and sure enough.
You have very trusting friends.
Sure.
know.
Well, I mean, like just like model,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Sure enough.
That's enough.
Sure enough, EOL.
Yeah.
And then I learned from that, like one of them, the ISP supplies the stuff.
Yeah.
So like one of the things that I look at as well is, well, these ISPs have deployed software or routers long ago and modems in many cases, and they haven't updated them. So, then it's like, okay, well, there's a lease on this, or maybe they give it away for free.
Right.
But still, I think there's some obligation and responsibility if you think about that dynamic,
Yeah.
where like, maybe more of these ISPs need to take a look at their customers because they're actually knowledgeable and closest to the problem.
Right.
Did your research take a look at like LTE modems and stuff like that, like the cellular?
Yeah, there was some cellular in there.
Because that counts as edge.
Yeah, there was cellular. The categories were wireless routers were number one.
There we go.
Firewalls, network management, which we've seen network management for enterprise.
Right.
Like, that's a great place to go for an attacker. You can access to everything. Routers, WAFs, SSL VPN cellular routers, a few. And then modems. And naturally, I think, too, the time to exploitation on the enterprise, it appears to be way faster. On the firewall, SSL, VPN, network edge side. But that also could be reflective of, like, there's probably not as much detection capabilities around consumer devices and consumer exploits.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no one's running IDS at home.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Which kind
I
of
don't
a
know.
problem because since 2020, I mean, I've been working at home since 2006. Not to brag.
Before it was cool.
Before it was cool, but like since 2020, everyone works at home. Like
Yes.
if you're in knowledge work and you don't work for a jerk CEO who's trying to fire you, then you have a work from home experience,
Yep.
right? Like even if it's just part time, right? And so owning someone's house, like especially for espionage, is very valuable, right? Like, and I've always wanted to try to push, like, how do we get pen testing scopes to include DOCSIS and the home router, right? I think it's super valuable because I know my CFO works from home and he does money stuff, specifically my money stuff.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's a good thing to push for because, like, the home should be considered a vector.
Yeah.
Like, if we're all working at home, then, some people.
It's always a balance,
Yeah.
you know?
So, EOL is also always very depressing to talk about because we always have to say like death and everything
Yeah,
like that.
it's kind of sad.
It's a terrible term. Like everything in cybersecurity, it's a terrible term that's stuck.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole paper about it. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, it was
It's
great.
called Undead by Design. Just Google that and you'll find the runZero paper. It was fun to write. I talked to you about it. What else is going on over in VulnCheck land?
Oh, I mean, I can definitely plug a couple of product things if that's okay with you.
You want?
We're doing a really cool new feature that's going to come out soon that I probably am going to make my marketing team angry by talking about a little bit early. It's fine. Our target intelligence, which is going to be looking at devices on the internet from a CVE context, kind of overlaps with some of this research.
Okay.
So what CVEs can we enumerate out there to really get a good idea of, the attack surface and the prevalence of them? Because more prevalence means higher amount of targets, means higher value to attackers. And
Sure. So, but on that note, right?
Yes.
Like Patrick, you were saying that like there's the botnet carve out and there's the ransomware carve out, and they don't really overlap.
They do not.
How do you think this will play out in this area, right? Like things I can reach from the internet, like the target. How much does attacker motive matter, right? When counting targets.
In an ideal world, I would want it to matter so much to people. I would want it to be like the number one of just like, oh, I have one of the most popular things out there. I think it does matter in the context of, when can you expect to be seeing the traffic from this? Like it's one of those evolutions of the attack surface that really says like, oh, we can expect to see a wave of scanning behavior, we can expect to see a wave of exploitation, and then we can expect for it to evolve into a botnet, like inevitably.
Right.
There are some things that don't reach the botnet stage. Those things remain very interesting things.
Right.
So, there's just different ways of looking at the attack surface that isn't necessarily like attack surface management. Like our goal is not necessarily like you patch this, you patch that, but truly like how are things vulnerable, and then where does it evolve into not only botnets but C2 servers, places that are just hosted as droppers, places that are hosted as like SOC 5 proxies. Like it's not just the surface of the attack, but the evolution of the attack. So things evolve in a very interesting way to get the true idea of like where in the life cycle of exploitation are we? Because exploitation is not just like this one-time hit. It's in your research, like it proves over and over again that like exploitation itself is a life cycle that never dies. It lives forever. Did you know this?
I mean, feel free to put a listener on UDP 1434. You will catch SQL Slammer
Exactly.
in about an hour.
Exactly.
I shift a little bit and I look at the attackers' motivations. In looking like, what are they trying to accomplish and do? And, good example is there's some ransomware operators that are just looking for the lowest hanging fruit.
Right.
Which EOL devices are great for. Kind of what you mentioned.
Right.
Like, what's the oldest thing on the network? Let me just do that. And so that's not always the case, but I think you see these mass compromise instances where a progress move it, a lot of the SSL VPNs, firewalls, like, their goal is to get a reverse shell and come back to it when they have time to complete the rest of the attack. And so, I think it's going to be interesting.
It is.
But definitely a balance as far as like what people's intentions are from an attack perspective, and those can vary widely.
I think the other thing we're up to, I mean, you alluded to us being noble farmers of CVEs.
Yes.
We're taking a look at like your team, the vulnerability research team, the CNA, like the assigning the CVEs and all of the AI.
CNA is CVE Numbering Authority.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We explain acronyms on this show. Just how the team is dealing with all of the slop
Yeah, I think combination, right? We have the report of vulnerability service.
Right.
Any security researcher can submit a vuln. It's not just CVE issuance. We're doing CVD as well, coordinated vuln disclosure.
Oh, wow.
And so in a lot of cases, researchers want the information to get to the vendor or the software supplier, but there's so many channels and so many different policies.
Well, and it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's so confusing.
And so naturally what we found is if we give them an avenue where we can facilitate that for them, they're more likely to do it.
Yeah.
There's some researchers that just love dropping O-days, but it was because they didn't get responses or were frustrated with that experience.
Yeah.
So I think giving them the avenue to report in a way where they don't have to do all the work.
Yeah.
And then, the CVE issuance side, more or less what we're looking for is things that are likely to be exploited or being exploited, and trying to get those in the CVE ecosystem as quickly as possible. So, because ultimately, we know a lot, I'd say probably most tooling in relation to vulnerability management has some reliance on CVE.
Right.
Yes.
And so that, from an obligation perspective, it's like, we do that as a public good. Let's do it. Let's do what's right. Contribute back to the community. It's pretty wild, a lot of fun. Many different interactions from vendors to researchers. And then the AI stuff we're seeing, some of it very valid, some of it complete slop.
So
the volume is just going to explode,
It's exponential
I think,
growth.
in the next year or two, as far as like amount of real things that are found that like there just weren't enough people, banging on the technology.
And interesting that you bring that up, right? Like, I think that explosion has not happened yet.
Yep.
Oh, really?
It's early.
I think we're
like at the start of the explosion.
Tipping point.
because of the way that we experience time, we can't tell if this is just a little bump, a big bump, a plateau, or anything like that. But boy, oh boy, like, I think we have started up that curve. Don't know precisely what it looks like, but I think that we are in for it. And if we don't modernize how we communicate these vulnerabilities to vendors, to consumers, to security companies, right, to vulnerability management companies, to aggregators, like the Armor folks I was just talking to, right, like, we are going to be in a world of trouble because the LLMs will know.
Right.
And they'll tell their LLM friends, like, how much are we going to be in the dark about, like, what is my security posture really, right? And it's a time.
Yeah. I think
it's a time to be alive.
Like the best metric I think I've seen is like looking at CVEs in GitHub advisories in like a month of 4x increase. It's like, we're probably just on the start of the curve.
So we talked about this yesterday. Time also has very little meaning for me at this point. But we had a CVE panel yesterday, and Madison Oliver from GitHub was there, and she spent some time just like going into detail. It's like, we had, what was the number she gave? 5,200 vulnerability reports in March. March is not over yet. Last year, they had about 3,000 total.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it is a steepening curve. I think we can actually handle it. I'm not super doom and gloom about it because I mean, we've got a whole few city blocks here of people who are like very into automation.
Yes. If I were to say like the shiny product words about it, like everything needs to be like machine first, like AI speed, like agentic communication.
And this is what we were talking about with fuzzing, right? Like low those many years ago, we were all worried. That's like, oh no, now we have fuzzing, so we're going to have 50,000 Android vulnerabilities.
And we didn't know what was in for us at that
The other
point.
thing to take into consideration is with AI, the volume of new products, open source and closed source, that didn't exist 6 months ago.
Oh, we were talking about like the different forks of open source that are now going to happen and the vulnerabilities upon the forks, and like how are you going to keep track of those?
Yep.
So, you know, we're not doom and gloom. We're very much we can accomplish it.
I think we can do it. I don't think this is unsolvable. Well, hey, Patrick and Kimber, thank you so much for dropping by our little studio here. It has been super
Yay.
fun. I'm going to throw for about 5 minutes to catch my breath, and then we're going to be coming back talking to Casey Ellis about more of the same. Come on back.
Later.